What am I eating again? What is this?
Welcome back to Borough Talks, the Borough Market podcast. I'm Giulia Crouch, and this winter we're back at London's historic food market, speaking to the chefs and traders who bring it to life.
It's a very special place. When I'm away too long from Borough Market, I always miss it.
From the exceptional cured meats of Italy and Spain to expertly matured farmhouse cheese.
So you take the curds and you cut them up into little bits and add the salt. That's British cheese.
And modern French cuisine to refreshing matcha.
I mean, I love it when someone comes to me and is like, I've never tried matcha before. I'm like, you're the perfect customer.
This season is all about iconic food and drink and the people behind it. Join us as we dig into their stories, seasonal ingredients, and take a closer look at what makes this market so special. This is Borough Talks. Today I'm joined by Monika Linton, the woman who began the British love affair with Spanish food. She founded Brindisa back in 1988, bringing artisan Spanish ingredients to London at a time when a lot of people hadn't tasted many of them. Since then, Brindisa has grown into a beloved family of tapas restaurants and the UK's most respected Spanish food suppliers. Monika, it is a pleasure to have you on Borough Talks. Welcome.
Thank you, Giulia. It's so wonderful to be here.
So I'm really intrigued to know how you became so interested in Spanish food in the first place.
It goes back a long way, but really, in essence, because I learned Spanish at school. Why Spanish? Well, I was at a boarding school and I had the choice between German and Spanish. And the Spanish teacher was a really nice, friendly lady. And the German teacher was a rather scary nun. So I chose Spanish. And that's really the beginning of it.
Did you go and live out there?
I lived after uni. So then I did my degree in Spanish. And then I went to live in Catalonia, in fact. So I learned quite a lot of Catalan as well. And learned to understand the Catalan language as well. So Castilian, Catalan, and the food of Spain and Catalonia, I got to understand really well.
And what was your first impression of Spanish food when you were out there? What are some of the kind of strong memories you have of trying things?
But they really, really understood their gastronomy. In those really early years, in the 80s, a lot of Spanish food was as iconic to them as it is to us now, because a lot of the Spanish food didn't even travel across Spain very well. They didn't have much distribution in the 70s, 80s. So the love they might have for an exotic cheese from Extremadura was still a sort of mystery in a way, because it never got to Barcelona, for example. So people would travel around their country to discover their food. So they would go, whenever they went on holiday, they would go to certain areas and then they would buy the local products and bring them home, as cherished as any souvenir might be for us if we were to go to, any other country. But they did that within their own country and respected their gastronomy in that way in those early years.
And what made you think, I want to bring this food back to the UK and start a business?
Well, it was that love of the food. I mean, the Mediterranean is Italy, France. They all love and understand their gastronomy. And Spain is no different. The thing about Spain that I always really, really loved was obviously I had access to the people because I spoke the language. But the country is so diverse, the regions. So if you compare Galicia with the Canary Islands or, the Basque Hills and mountains with Menorca, or Cadiz, it's really varied. I mean, Italy is varied as well, but Spain has another dynamic that I just really got into because I spoke the language and traveled around.
So take me back to 1988 then, when you set up in the UK. What was the British food scene like at that time?
It seemed very limited in the 80s, I have to say. It was the sort of time when you wouldn't really go to a pub if you were on your own as a woman. There was no food really in pubs. There was no cafe society because we didn't have licenses to have tables outside. It was all very kind of inward looking. And then in the early 90s, and I suppose with the EEC or, with the continental Europe having more influence over that phase, we became more interested in gastronomy as a country and blending influences from different countries rather than just going, if you like, to the sort of colonial gastronomies that we had historically kind of had, like Indian food or whatever in Britain was always really strong. But European diets and understandings were not quite so strong. And obviously France and Italy dominated. And I really wanted Spain to get its opportunity to be part of the British psyche.
And it absolutely worked, because now we all absolutely love Spanish food. What kind of products did you begin with then? What are some of the first things you wanted to introduce to the British public?
Well, I started with wine,
Uh-huh.
and that was quite difficult. I decided the wine trade was not for me. I'm very happy to be a consumer of very good wine, but I didn't really want to trade in it. The margins are very small, and I had no economy of scale at all. So I then went for Spanish cheese, which was really difficult to sell in the 90s. Nobody understood that Spain had cheese, or that sheep even produced milk with which you could make cheese, etc., etc. So that was a real uphill.
And how long did it take before people kind of started to understand Spanish cheese more? Did you have to do a lot of explaining in the early days?
Yeah, no, very much. There was quite a lot of prejudice to Spanish cheese because no one had any understanding, because obviously Parmesan from Italy, everybody understood, and Camembert from France, everybody understood. From Spain, Manchego wasn't even a generic name at that time. It wasn't even created as a guarantee of origin. So it was cured sheep's milk cheese, hard pressed. It's a bit of a long explanation.
It's a bit long-winded, that, as a name.
There were those iconic chefs of the 90s like Alistair Little, Simon Hopkinson, who all just loved the cheese I brought. They tasted it and they said, wow, I never tasted anything like that. So that gave me the confidence that I was onto something that was definitely going to find its place, because it is all about flavour, and surprising really, really established chefs with a flavour they hadn't really had before was really exciting.
That must have been fun. Yeah, that must have been really good. Were there any things that like Brits just really struggled to get on board with? I don't know, I'm thinking maybe like anchovies or any kind of strong Spanish flavours that they just didn't like.
Well, anchovies have never been an issue here. I think gentleman's relish sort of set the course for that. The British were always used to that sort of salty, fishy flavour. So anchovies were never a real problem in terms of flavour. I think one of the things that is still an issue maybe is the hams and the meats in Spain really benefit, the flavours really benefit from having a mix of lean and fat, and most of the flavour is in the fat.
Yeah.
And most Europeans, continental Europeans, would know that. And often in England, it's not necessarily understood. I think people have learnt now. But in those early days, some of the most expensive hams that I would provide to some of the best tables, restaurants in London, customers would cut the fat out.
Oh, so
and they would just eat the lean.
Yes.
And it's just like, wow, you can't do that. Because, you know, it's all in the fat.
Yeah. And how much have things evolved from then? How much has the British palate changed?
Well, I think they've got used to that. Certainly, you know, our demographic have really understood that the flavours, so that's fine. So I think we've got that one. Other products that are quite sort of strong in flavour, like the padron peppers, maybe the spicy things, people have really got used to. I think people have got used to an awful lot of Spanish peculiarities, if you can call them that. Sheep's milk cheeses is not a surprise to a lot of people now. We've got a very special kind of soft thistle cheese, which is it's sort of soft like a vacherin is, and it's usually in a little round container, and you spoon it out. And that has quite a bitter artichoke kind of finish,
Sounds nice.
which is quite unusual for people. But, you know, we're selling more and more of it each day. So people are getting used to that unusual flavour. Pulses are not strong in flavour, but they're incredibly creamy and they're incredibly good ingredients. But they're trying to encourage people to cook from dry is a bit more challenging than it is to sort of open up a jar and just tip it in. So I tend to go for trying to get the impossible to work.
Well, let's talk about pulses and beans then, because obviously they're quite trendy right now, which kind of sounds like a funny thing to say because they're such a kind of staple ingredient in so many cuisines. Have you always been a big pulses and beans fan?
Yeah, always. But I mean, I was brought up in Africa where you have quite a lot of pulses, different varieties, but and Latin America I spent a lot of time in as well. So they've always been in my landscape, in my head, really, as a core food. But in Spain, you know, you are absolutely brought up on pulses from the moment you can sort of walk almost. You are eating lentils or chickpeas or beans. And most of my Spanish colleagues have been built on beans. I mean, that has been their nutrition. And then when you go to Spain more and more and you see how different regions do different things with pulses, you get more hooked, if you like, on how they're the protagonist in the dish. But, you need the tiniest bit of pancetta or chorizo to flavour the dish.
Yeah.
You don't need to laden it up with, it's a bit like a paella. If you cover it, all the rice with loads of prawns, but it's all meant to be quite minimalist because the aromatics or the stocks or whatever you're putting into it are actually feeding the bean. So the bean is enhanced rather than the rest of the ingredients being the protagonist.
I think you're completely right. They really are starting to become the star of the show in like more and more British cooking, or people are seeing them that way. So do you always cook yours from dried? Your beans?
Historically at home, we've always cooked from dry. Now we've got jars in the business and, we've had jars actually since the 90s, but the dry ones I was selling to the same chefs in the 90s, and they could not believe the butter beans that I was supplying. They were about 2.5 inches long.
Wow.
And about, half an inch deep in terms of plumpness.
Enormous.
So, yeah, really, really, really special. So, we cook from dry as much as we, nearly all the time. On a really, really speedy night, we just need some food. Maybe we'll open a jar. And my kids use the jars a lot.
Obviously, provenance is something that's really important to you, clearly. Do you think that's starting to become more and more important to the British public, like where their food comes from and quality of food?
So, terroir or provenance is very important to us, but the origin doesn't always have to be a certified origin like the schemes that the governments have to certify manchego or whatever it might be, because there's so many incredible microclimates and food makers outside of those areas. But we like to understand and be able to communicate to the customers where that little terroir is. And I think customers more and more want to know. Not just for the green agenda, but I think it's the interest.
Yeah.
And being able to differentiate one origin maybe from another and just understand more about what you're eating.
And it's quite evocative, isn't it, to think about the place where something came from. And there's a kind of like a storytelling element to it. Like you just like to know these things. You've brought in so many things for us to try. I'm so excited. There's the hugest loaf of bread on the table, so many tomatoes, so many vinegars, beans, cheese, meat, everything. So I just really want to dig in. Where should we start? What do you want to highlight?
Well, I kind of divided it into two things. One was like the classics, which is always the cured food, which is in a way what Brindisa's most obviously known for. Like it's cheeses, it's cured hams. And then you eat those generally on pan con tomate. And we started bringing in this artisan pan de coca over 20 years ago. And it's one particular bread maker. He just does one loaf and he does it perfectly. And it's the most amazing product. And so this is the basis of all our pan con tomate in the restaurants. And then the tomate, we always got these tomates de panjar, which are a special kind of Catalan tomato. And those have slightly thicker skins, they've got quite a lot of juice, and they're not really meant to be eaten as, they can be eaten as a tomato, but the Catalans would just slice them in half and then spread them on their bread and discard the skin, which a lot of people think, oh, shouldn't do that. But that's the way they do it. And then you sprinkle it with olive oil and with salt. I brought some lovely flor de sal from Mallorca because that's like the best salt you can get. And an olive oil.
Who first taught you how to make it? Do you remember? Or do you remember the first time you ever had it?
Pan con tomate?
Yeah.
Oh, well, it was when I lived in Catalonia. So when I lived in Catalonia and I worked as a teacher, I had a room with a family and they had a farm. And breakfast was always pan con tomate. But they were farmers, so they had got up 3 hours before me and they were already on their shot of brandy with their pan con tomate.
Is that traditional? Is that what people have?
That would be their farmer's breakfast. But it was always pan con tomate with some cured sausages or a little bit of cheese. And you'd just cut your slice, you'd cut your tomato in half, you'd spread it on the bread, squeeze out the inside bit and the juice, and put the oil and salt on.
That's an excellent breakfast.
It's a good breakfast.
So you've brought some amazing vinegar in for us to try. Explain what we've got here.
Well, I've got 3, which are my complete and utter favourites. One of them is an apple vinegar from Asturias. It's made from 3 varieties of local Asturian apples. And A lot of apple vinegar doesn't taste of apples.
It really
This
doesn't.
really, really tastes of apples, and it's really crystal, and it's so fresh and sparky. It's just delicious. So I brought that for you to taste.
Okay.
And then I brought you these two other, which are from Montilla Moriles, which is another DOP. So you've got sherry vinegar as one, which you've got quite a lot of sherry vinegars in Brindisa, but these ones from Montilla are amazing, and the base is the Montilla wine.
Okay.
So that's what this one is, which is PX vinegar, a PX grape, Pedro Jimenez grape,
Okay.
which is where you get the PX sherry from,
Yeah.
which is quite sort of dark, treacly, very almost toasted, caramelly, very kind of aged raisins,
Yes.
dark, obviously you can see from the colour. And then I brought the Fino, which is made from the Palomino grape, which is a different grape, and obviously a white one, you can tell the colour here, and it's balsamic as well, but it's so delicious. And so I wanted you to try them.
What are the different uses for these vinegars? What would you use them for?
The obvious thing is obviously salad dressings and so on, but there are some quite special things to do with this. So this one, the dark Pedro Jimenez one, is really quite good with puddings. So in ice creams or drizzled on kind of pudding. Sometimes you could always put it with a cured cheese as well, a bit like Italians do with their balsamic vinegar and parmesan.
Yeah.
You could do the same with this. There's a recipe I did where it was blended into chocolate, and then the chocolate sauce went onto some berries.
Oh,
and that
that
was
sounds
absolutely
good.
heavenly.
Yeah.
And you can marinate fruit with a bit of this as well. So you get this sugar, the natural sugar of the berries with the flavours of this. Then the Fino one, last night I oven roasted some tomatoes with that, with the Fino, and it made the tomato juice and the whole thing absolutely heavenly. So that's, and it's amazing for dressings, that one. And then the apple juice is just, I mean, a lot of people have apple juice for health. So a teaspoon of that, because it tastes of apples, is really easy. But it's also very good for dressings.
Brilliant. Let's try some. I'm so excited. You've really, really sold them.
I
They sound
do the
fantastic.
Fino one first.
Okay. This is the sherry vinegar.
Fino is a sherry, but it's not made in sherry.
Right.
You see what I mean? It's made in Montilla.
It smells lovely. I love vinegar.
Yeah, I mean,
always
vinegar
love
is
vinegar
so...
so much.
I mean, I've got quite a few books on vinegar from, you probably know Angela, and I really, really, really enjoy reading more and more about vinegars and understanding them both, you know, because
There's almost a little spiciness at the end.
yeah. And then I also put these sometimes in a little bit of, if you are cooking beans, just a little drop
At the end.
at the end. It's
Just
absolutely
to
amazing.
kind of
rounds it
through the
off.
richness.
Yeah.
That's an incredible one. Wow, that's so delicious. Well, how would you describe the kind of tasting notes in there?
The sugar, it's a very, very natural balance of
Yeah.
acid and fruit, but natural fruit flavors that have a little bit of sweetness, but it's just really elegant.
It is really elegant. Wow, that one's incredible.
And it doesn't hit the back of your throat like a lot of...
No, because it is well balanced. Oh, yum. I like that. Okay, what's next?
So we'll do the PX.
So is vinegar a really important part of Spanish cooking, would you say, and Spanish cuisine?
Yeah, they use it for a lot of reductions in sauces, and obviously for dressings like everybody would for salads. It's a very, very big part of their gastronomy.
So this is the dark one.
That's the PX balsamic from Montilla.
And this is aged, did you say? This is like 12 years.
aged. It's made from the base of a Montilla wine, which is a sweet wine anyway, where the grapes get dry.
Sweeter than the other one. Like more treacly,
Treacly.
I would say. More caramel.
Mm-hmm.
I think I prefer the first one.
Yeah, that's possible.
It's more like,
Zingy.
yeah, zingy. This one's lovely though, but yeah, raisiny, I would say.
Yeah.
I mean, excellent as well.
And then this is the apple, which is sharper. Obviously, it's apples.
Extremely appley.
Yeah.
I've never tasted a apple cider vinegar that tastes that like crisp,
Yeah, exactly.
like a crisp green apple.
Yeah.
Wow, that's really fantastic.
Yeah.
Tastes really fresh.
Yeah, I
Such
know.
a fresh taste.
That's what's so extraordinary about vinegar, that it can keep the freshness in the bottle for, you know.
Yeah, how bizarre. Do the vinegars sell really well? Is that something that people are really interested in?
Well, I think, no, I mean, olive oils sell really well. Vinegars are much harder to sell.
Are they?
Much harder. Yeah.
Why?
People don't really, apart, you know, there's the inevitable salad dressing, but there's so many variations on a dressing. But I think people get a bit stuck on, let's just do red wine vinegar or
Uh-huh.
muscatel, which we do sell a lot of muscatel because that's a very balanced and very pleasant vinegar as well. But these more complex ones, I think, it's not the norm. Chefs tend to lead the sales for us of vinegars because they really
Understand.
they're going to create lots of different. It's going to give them opportunities in the kitchen to create things that only a vinegar can do. So they will be looking for that nuance between all the different types of vinegars because that gives them the opportunity in the kitchen to do different things. At home, I think it's a bit harder.
Yeah.
But I do think that there are really good books now on vinegar that help us all understand the opportunities that are there.
There's such a big world, isn't there? There's
Yeah.
so many variations.
Yeah.
So we've just had some amazing looking hot dishes been brought up to us.
Yeah.
Tell me what we've got. I can't wait to tuck in.
Well, we've got two that display two of my favourite pulses. One are lentils, parrina lentils with chorizo and with basically pancetta or pork belly. Again, saying the same thing as I said many times, is you don't need a lot. The majority of the dish are lentils, but they're cooked here with really smoky and delicious Riojan chorizo. And we've got some pancetta here. And then the other dish is julienne beans estilo cacio e pepe. So it's a kind of a play on the Italian cacio e pepe with pepper and so on.
But done with beans instead of pasta.
Julienne beans, these really plump butter beans, and then some wild mushrooms on top. And then we've grated some of our really, really, really wonderful aged Galician cow's milk cheese, which behaves like a grating cheese. It's for gratines and so on, but it's got its own flavour and it's just amazing. It's called galmesan. So that's what's on top there.
I'm so excited to try both of them. It's just so pretty, the dish. Like you wouldn't think something as humble as beans could look so beautiful, but they really do. Oh, wow. That flavour's amazing. There's so much umami flavour there. What's that coming from?
It'll be a little bit of vinegar, I think, in there as well.
It's got a real depth to it.
The sauce is delicious.
Yeah, the sauce is amazing.
Really lovely onions.
The sauce tastes almost like chickeny. There's some kind of meaty flavour.
It's really brothy. It's really very good. It's got some mushroom stock in it as well, I would imagine.
And the beans themselves.
Really creamy.
Really creamy.
Yeah, I've always called them creamy, but a friend of mine just says they're like clotted cream, not double cream. They're like the best of best.
The best of the best. If someone didn't like beans, this would definitely
convert them.
Want to eat these.
Yes.
100%. Wow. Incredible.
Yeah.
And should we try the lentils?
Yeah.
Have these dishes always been on the menu?
No, not necessarily. I always insist on legume dishes on the menu, and we obviously rotate them. So, in the summer you might have more like salads. Chorizo and lentils is quite wintry. It's ever popular. I mean, everybody, I don't think you can go wrong.
Oh, these lentils are so good. That's so good.
It's such an amazing combination. And, that's the thing about beans. You just need the tiniest little bit of flavouring to make them really shine.
They really transform.
Yeah. And it's all about the stock, really.
These are
and
so
the aromatics that you put into the stock.
Yeah.
Which you can't really control if you buy a jarred bean. If you buy a jarred bean, all you can, it's a bit like buying pasta, you just put a sauce on top of it. You can't impregnate the bean with the flavour of your cooking.
That's totally right. And that's what makes them taste so different, doesn't it? Because it really infuses them with flavour.
Completely.
These are fantastic. They're just so comforting, warming.
Yeah, and it feels so nourishing. Because it's not just a kind of, meat overload. And there's a very tiny little hint of heat, which is perfect. Just you want a little bit, not too much.
The chorizo is really good. So, Monika, you've really outdone yourself here and all the other guests by bringing in a whole leg. Explain to me what we have here and what's being carved up.
Well, we've got, the famous acorn-fed Iberico ham. that is something that we specialize in at the shop. Brindisa was the first business to bring hams on the bone from Spain to Britain.
Oh, really?
And we were the first people to train carvers.
Oh, cool.
So it's one of our it's firsts on so many levels.
Yeah.
We also were the first to get it actually displayed in shops, in a way that an EHO would approve of. So we got all of those permissions authorized, if you like,
That's amazing.
by our own initiative. So that was really, it's something that we really innovated here. So it's a special kind of pig, Iberian pig, who runs and roams wild in the forests of Extremadura. And basically in the autumn, when the oak trees are full of their fruit, the acorns, which then drop to the ground, they then munch away and sort of gorge on those acorns. And then the acorns then create this very sweet fat. All the flavour from the acorns and the oleic acid goes into the fat, which then, flavours the meat to some extent, but it's all it's mainly the sweetness is in the fat.
And why do you think having it kind of carved in front of you is so special and nice to see?
Well, I think it's because it's so skillful.
Yeah.
Obviously we have English hams, cooked hams, and you have to carve those at the table. I mean, carving a Sunday roast is still pretty gripping, but carving a cured leg of ham is really off the scale, really. It's really, one, it's theatrical to see, but it's really skilled. And you have to get it right, and you have to keep it as flat as you possibly can. And then there are lots of different areas. There's the sort of both sides of the thigh, there's the end as well. They've all got different flavours.
Wow.
So when you go to a restaurant, they'll try and give you a little range of cuts, if you like.
Yeah, so you can get a range
So you
of
get a nice
flavours. Yeah. Are we going to try some of it?
So we're going to try some of it. And obviously it's just great straight up. Ham, nothing wrong with that, which we can do. You can have a little piece now.
Thank you.
But one of the ways that is really popular, because I think ham doesn't need to be you don't need too much to go around it at all. And the two fruits that I say are best with ham are tomato in some form or figs.
Oh, figs.
So today we've got tomates e panjar, which are these very sweet Catalan tomatoes. So what you do is you take a piece of toasted pan de coca.
Thank you.
And you take your half of tomato and you basically squeeze it all over your bread slice so that it's basically, opened up, and you try and get as much. It's different to a bruschetta. Bruschetta's got lots of the tomato flesh. This is essentially the juice. You do discard the tomato, although a lot of people like to just still eat it.
So you really get all that juice on there and all that kind of pulp, all that deliciousness. Yeah.
Yeah, and it sort of softens the bread a little bit on the top, but it doesn't soak the bread. There's always a bit of an argument. Do you put the oil on first or the salt on first? Whatever. I put the oil on first. So you get a little bit of oil like this one. That's Perello oil is very good for it.
Yeah, this is your own brand.
Yeah, this is our business that we bought from the Perello couple who needed to retire. So we took it on from them. And then you get a few little sprinkles of salt and you just put that over there. And that is your classic pan con tomate.
Beautiful.
But obviously you can do pan con tomate on any loaf. But what's so good about pan de coca, it's got enough air and holes in it for it not to be too stodgy.
Right.
And then you pop a few slices of ham on top and crunch away.
Oh, this is so nice. What a lovely little early dinner we're having.
Yeah.
On the podcast.
Good thing I'm going to need any more dinner after this. Also, pan con tomate is really good with any cheese. It's brilliant with manchego cheese, with this granizo, which is a truffle-flavoured goat's cheese.
Ooh.
It's just a really, we put butter. In England, we put bread and butter. That's what we have. But in Spain, it's pan con tomate. And it's the base to so many combinations.
I don't know about you, but I just love the dishes that are really simple but really good. Like this. It's literally bread, tomatoes, olive oil and salt.
Absolutely.
And it's perfection. So it's just those kind of things. I'm going to try it with the ham because that's another level.
Yeah. I mean, tomatoes and ham are such a lovely combination. And this bread is so perfect. Angel, who makes this, gets the crispness of the crust absolutely perfect.
Oh, it's so
the
good.
flavour is salty, but not too salty, with a tiny little edge of sweetness in the bread.
Yeah. The crunchiness of the bread is just right. And then, it, like you said, it's softened a bit. So you get that softness and you get that crunchiness and the sweetness of the tomatoes with the also the sweetness of the ham because it's quite sweet as a product. And then you get all that saltiness after. It's just the perfect snack. This is just the best thing. And do you think there are any Spanish regions that are kind of underrepresented when it comes to their foods? Like, do we mainly focus on some regions over other ones?
Yeah, I would say yes. But also some areas are much more productive because they've got the right climate, so they can have a variety of ingredients. So North Castile, north of Madrid, you'll find much more foods produced. And south of Madrid, you'll get obviously sheep's milk and you'll get olive trees. And you'll get quite a lot of bakery, but they haven't got the climate to, say, pasture cattle, for example, or grow legumes particularly. And so, I think some areas do get a bit neglected, but it's also partly because of the demographic of all the sort of topography.
Have you travelled quite extensively around Spain?
Yeah, a lot. Yeah.
Do you have some parts that you like the most?
Not really. I like all of it. Every area offers something completely different. I love going to the Canary Islands because it's so undiscovered. If you go outside of the tourist areas, the middle bit is it's like Jamaica. It's so beautiful.
Wow.
And they grow coffee, and there are all sorts of little secrets in the Canary Islands that you don't know about, unless you venture into the middle. We go to the Balearics a lot, to Menorca, which is a tiny little island with quite a lot of things to offer. Seafood, amazing. I suppose I gravitate a bit to Catalonia and the Balearics because that's where I used to live. So, but I wouldn't say it's a favourite. It's not to the exclusion of other areas at all.
And are you still learning stuff about Spanish cuisine?
Yeah, definitely. But I think Spanish cuisine is also evolving in its own right. So they've got very traditional cuisine, but there are also a whole lot of young chefs coming in and doing, very, very different things, that I couldn't anticipate, making things with seaweed or, things like that even the Welsh do very well, So, Spain is also just evolving and innovating its own path.
Are you still as excited about Spanish cuisine as you were when you first started this business?
Yeah, but I still tend to gravitate to the core ingredients and then using them in different ways, like the rices that they've got or the pulses that they've got or the pasta, the fideo pasta, and using those, that little sort of angel hair short pasta that the Catalans use.
Oh, cool.
So, I go back to those and just love to experiment with all the different ways that you can use them.
And what's next for Brindisa? What would you like to do next?
I would like to make sure that we still get our small producers in Spain, because obviously there's an awful lot of things that go against small producers, all sorts of things that make it difficult, of officialdom, Brexit, all sorts of things make things more difficult for smaller producers. And we want to keep protecting that population of food makers that are very dear to our hearts, and making sure that the public can access them and enjoy them. Some of them have become expensive. We do appreciate that. But, small is also good.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
Monika, thank you so much for coming on the podcast and sharing your passion for Spanish cuisine and for bringing in all of this absolutely incredible food and produce. It's got me really excited about Spanish food, and I want to go home and make pan con tomate and buy some vinegars. All these vinegars are so cool. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much. This has been an amazing conversation, and we're really grateful that you came on the podcast.
Yeah, it's brilliant, Giulia. No, thank you so much for taking such an interest and enjoying it all, and understanding so many of these ingredients as well from your own interest in food and the work you've done as well.
I
Luzones
and
beans.
Yeah. No, it's those beans. I'm going to be thinking about them for a while.
I know.
Yeah, brilliant stuff. Thank you.
Great.
It was such a treat to hear from Monika, the founder of Brindisa, about her trailblazing experience, which has transformed the British food scene. We hope you've enjoyed this episode of Borough Talks. Follow the podcast so you don't miss what's coming next. We've got plenty more good food and great stories to come. Borough Talks is hosted by me, Giulia Crouch, produced by James Deacon, audio editing and sound design by Chris Attaway, videography by Felipe Franco. Thanks to Liam, Matt and Bethan at Borough Market, and to all our guests for the food, the conversation and the time. And thanks to Jenki for being the backdrop to this series.